All right, welcome everybody. It's your Saturday Sweep webinars here, Jesus and Lucci. We have actually kind of a surprise topic here. Jesus kind of just crafted this one last minute kind of for you guys. So again, we do these webinars just internally for a lot of our people to help them out with their trading, as well as show them how some of this order flow can really affect change and help out their current strategies, whatever it is that they're doing. So I'm going to let Jesus go ahead and surprise you guys with this topic here. Jesus, what's going on, man? Good morning.
All right, good morning. Good morning, everybody out there. And, yeah, it's kind of last minute. We touched on this topic in increments throughout webinars, and it's the most popular question I get regarding how to use this order flow, okay? How to make money, how to trade off it, how to incorporate it into a style. And basically, the St. Lucci crew wrote up a little write-up of 3 of the most efficient yet simple ways that I have used this throughout my career. And just to start off, you can go on the wallstreetjesus.com website. You'll see strategy section. You could click on this article, and I'll just elaborate a little bit further in this webinar on the topics. And the 3 are obviously day trading, okay, which I solely been doing and utilizing the wise guy action primarily. Sentiment, which is a pretty broad aspect, and any traders can utilize that and take advantage of that. And the most popular one I get at least 10 times a day, you know, position trading, swing trading, holding overnight. And that's basically, I'm going to touch on that probably the most this morning. So, and try to give a little clarity, you know, between the difference of the 3. All right, and let's start off with day trading first, and just give you an idea. And again, guys, this is how I use this information, how I've used it in the past. And again, it keeps things simple in a way you can keep your approach disciplined at the same time. Okay, and we'll go off the most recent action. I'll try to use, you know, examples of Friday's activity, and in regards to swing trading, some of the most recent orders that we've seen that I felt were worthy of some swing trades. All right, and the first one here I'm going to go over is this WRK. All right, and I'll pull up the order so you can get a view here.
I remember this one that has been just lit up in the chat. Like usually names like this, like I won't even look at, but I remember pulling this one up simply because like there's a song Rihanna has out right now that is called Work. And every time I see the WRK in there, I think of that damn song. I keep pulling it up, and it's wild, dude.
Yeah, and this is the second time we traded it, and it's just, it's been incredible. I mean, sharp action for a name like this. Okay, and it's not illiquid per se, so that's the beauty of it. But right around 3 o'clock, so late Friday, where most people are already done for the day or taking an afternoon nap, they come in and almost a $500,000 bet in April 40 calls. And you could see here right around $38.76 is where that order hit, okay? And here's where the stock was at that time. Let me put up, my charts might be a little bit slow today for some reason, so bear with me, because this has been a problem all morning when I switched to the daily. But so basically what happened is they came in and they hit up the April 40 calls. The last time they came in, they hit up July's. All right, so April in this bet obviously tells me this is something that we can see some real nice momentum over the extreme short term. And what I mean is now. So that's what basically I was looking for. So automatically, you got to be kidding me with this. All right, I got to back up here anyhow. All right, so they come in right around here, as you guys can see, okay? And you can see the nice little spike up in the stock as well. And, you know, right after that, because the order was so sharp, it sort of, you know, had a little bump right after that before consolidating. Now, as soon as I saw the order, I threw my buy orders in there. But, again, this is the little leeway I tell you guys to give a name, especially if the order is aggressive. and it's notable like this one in particular. You could wait for a little consolidation like we saw here just to see where it settles out. But as you can see, this thing just took off immediately, okay? And again, they're not all this easy, but if you're disciplined enough to wait for these type of orders, and what I mean by that is these standout orders, okay? And this is all stuff I talk about in the chat room all day long. I can't expect everybody to figure out which order is sharper than the next and so forth. So that's where the Steamroom chat becomes valuable to members. I automatically will elaborate on these orders and tell you how aggressive or sharp they are. But when you see notable action like this, a lot of times this is what's going to happen, guys. You're just going to see an instant reaction. You'll see just a very brief consolidation before this thing takes off. And then, like I always stress, after this little push right here, okay, the trade is in your hands now. And there's a number of things that I've mentioned, in webinars and to members and on Twitter, a couple different ways you can play it. Here you can see here, this is a 1 minute chart. So this is called an ATR stop loss. All right, and you can just use this as a guide, and it gives you a disciplined approach to where, if you want to raise your stop and look to get out, to write out a winner and lock in some profit. All right, or you can just, again, manually or go into your account and raise your stop loss to keep yourself protected. But this is where the edge is, okay? And this is why I've solely been day trading, because this edge is just hard to beat. Now, if you hold this WRK overnight, we walk in Monday, who knows? The Fed said this, China did that, and we get a gap down, and chances are this is going to gap down with the market. But this edge right here, this initial push off that notable action, you're not going to find anywhere else. There's not another indicator in this game that is going to supply you with this type of information and how you to get a push like this. Okay, so again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is what I utilize the wise guy action primarily for. Okay, and now these charts want to work. It's kept me disciplined, and I'm totally content with it. Another name we saw was AAL, and Lucci mentioned this on Twitter as well. They were aggressive in this name early, and I'll go into the Steamroom so you guys could get an idea of where the first order hit. Right around here, it was right here. Here it is, 9:52, a little before 10. And these were May 45 calls, and I had mentioned there was some bullish flow and other strikes as well prior to this. But this was the sharpest order that came in early, almost a $250,000 sweep. He swept multiple exchanges to get filled. Okay, so this is AAL 952. And you could go back here. I already had marked off with that line so you can see exactly where this thing hit the tape. All right, and you can see AAL already, the airlines were strong, okay, in the early morning. It caught the bet here. All right, so again, a grind higher, little consolidation, another pop higher, and this, again, is that initial push, all right? I'm not going to say every single wise guy order you will see this push, but when it comes to some of the sharper action, I would say, honestly, 80 to 85% of them are going to have some sort of initial push like this, okay? Some may go further than others, some may go parabolic, okay, some may just fade out, but a lot of times you're going to see this initial push. And as a day trader, okay, if you can utilize this, whether you scout this or raise your stop to break even and try to look for more, again, this is an edge you're just not going to find anywhere else when it comes to day trading. Okay, and this is something where I took advantage of this. A lot of people held longer throughout the day because we actually saw some more bullish flow come into the name. And, after a little brief consolidation, it went new highs again on the day, had another consolidation, a longer consolidation throughout the afternoon, and then ultimately got stronger into the close. So, again, several ways that you can touch these things and just have a disciplined approach in where you can make some profits day trading and keep your downside very minimal. All right, let me get on a couple others just so you can get an idea of the others. Let's go with these charts. All right, STX was another one we traded. And this was an aggressive order as well. Let me pull it up here. It's nice and blown up so you guys can really see it clearly. And let's go to the steam room. STX, a little before 10 o'clock. Again, 9:51. April 35 calls. $384,000 sweep. He swept multiple exchanges to get filled on almost a $400,000 bet for STX. That's really aggressive. Okay, so again, we see that hit the tape. I go in and buy because, you know, I've developed an eye for these things where I'm just snap of a finger, I can tell whether these things are sharp enough. But, you know, in the steam room, I elaborate on the order and tell members it's a rather aggressive bet. And you can see here again with these aggressive bets, you can see this a little giddy up instantaneously. Okay, and that's fine, all right? If you miss this little move here, I would wait. And you can see here, you didn't have to chase. It came here, wait for a little breather, consolidation, okay? And you can see it did that right around here. And then this is that initial push that I keep referring to, all right? So again, on an average, let's say 36.10, I mean, the stock grinded up to 36.80. I mean, that's 70 cents. In literally, guys, 15 minutes. So there's a way, you have to find a way as a day trader to take advantage of that. And if, you know, if you're a seasoned day trader, you already know you could take advantage of that. But again, this is where the true edge lies as far as the wise guy action is concerned. And you can see why. I mean, your risk is minimal. And again, if this thing was to teeter out, okay, and head south, that's where I'm pulling the plug and getting out of this thing. All right, but a lot of times you're going to see this grind higher. It's just a matter of how high they go is the real question. That's the toughest part, is when to lock these things in. And a lot of members and myself have trouble with that. But listen, that's the least of your worries when it comes to this game. If you're having problems where to lock in profit. All right, so you can see here ultimately I sold this grind, went a little bit higher, and then stalled out. So again, that's where that ATR stop loss might come into effect and be very, very useful, helpful, or a raised stop to make sure you are insured on your gains there. But this thing stalled out for the rest of the day, you know, had some bump ups and so forth, as you can see here, but never went on to new highs after that. All right, let's get one more before we go into swing trading and position trading, because I know you guys are interested in that. And chart issues again. All right, let's go to the steam room to just get that SRPT order, okay, and give you an idea. SRPT is a biotech name. And listen, I'm not a fan of biotechs. I hate biotechs. But this is one name, okay? Maybe the only biotech name, but the one name that when it catches wise guy action, it's just money, absolute money. And a lot of you who have followed me over the years know that, because this thing's just been an animal, again, for day trading purposes. So here you can see here, it was a small bet, all right? Now, SRPT doesn't necessarily catch $1 million, $2 million wise guy orders, usually in the $100,000 to $200,000 range, I would say. But here, it caught a $53,000 bet. But what was significant about this order, it came with an opening put seller as well, all right? So the player who came in and hit these 324 $17 calls also sold puts to open, which is extremely bullish, okay? And you won't see it on this alert screen because the put selling is something I put in manually to the steam room, but that's what made this order significant at 10:56. Okay, and we still have trouble there, so let's go here. SRPT, and this thing was just a complete animal, a complete animal. 10:56, we're right around here, okay? And you could see, you know, the order came in, stock popped a bit, little breather, and then just took off and never looked back. You know, traded higher. Here's that ATR stop loss that I'm telling you, you could use as a guide. So ultimately here, you would have locked in that gain. A lot of people sold sooner than that, whatever the case. But this thing just kept going after basing out into the close. But this push is, again, I sound like a broken record, but this is where the true edge lies in these things, and where you have to find a way to take advantage of that. And I'll show you how in relation to swing trading, okay? Because a lot of people, I guess, maybe they don't have the resources or the time to day trade. I don't know the exact reasoning behind that, but I get more swing trading questions than anything else. All right, so let's go to a couple of swing trading names that we've saw over the past couple of weeks. Let's see if I could get a chart here on First Solar. FSLR, First Solar, a lot of you guys know that name. Solar company has seen some really sharp action over the past couple of weeks. Okay, let's start back here and I'll tell you. First, it's sort of an openings put seller, and that was pre-earnings. So somebody sold puts to open, those were March puts, into earnings. And again, I'm not a big fan of earnings, so I would have just disregarded, ignored that order, and waited to see if there was any further action after the earnings announcement, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw a 4,500 FSLR April 75 calls for $1.90 ask. That's a significant order for First Solar. All right, so I day traded the name in the Steamroom. I mentioned a gazillion times throughout that day that that order hit. This was a swing trade candidate. Okay, when you see an order this sharp and they were in front month calls, this was one you can swing for a couple days. All right, just manage your risk. And you know, this was a beauty. I mean, here's where the order came in on that day. Again, a lot of us day traded it, so had a little bit of cushion if you wanted to swing trade it for hold it overnight or a couple days. And then, you know, with the help of the market, obviously, this thing just grinded higher every single day. But, you know, even if you're swing trading, guys, you have to take advantage of this move. You can't look to get greedy. Yeah, ultimately you want to let your winners run, especially if you're trading options, lock in half, or, you know, if you want to roll out a position just to be on the safe side. But this little, you know, grind higher every single day is something you have to take advantage of, okay? Because there's going to be that 1 or 2 days where it goes bing, bang, right back to where it started, and you're left with nothing. And if you traded the calls, you know, they're going to be worth even less because of time value. But First Solar was a significant order and a name I would have definitely, and I did recommend to many players. EMR is a very recent one, all right? And let's go to the order here. I have it up here so you guys can see. That's not it, but this is it. All right, and this was 2 days ago, 9:38. First thing out of the gate that morning, a player came in and just absolutely bombed the April 52.5 strike. There's calls. All right. Here you could see $500,000 bet, and they tacked on some smaller action after that. We day traded this name. It was a monster winner that day, but it was also a swing trade candidate because of this sharp action. So, and this is where, you know, even if you're not a day trader per se, if you swing the sharper action, okay, the more notable order flow, you can have this cushion as far as into your position. I mean, here you can see 51.79, 51.94, under $52 on the stock is where we owned it, and it hit a high of 55.19 that day. So even if you want to hold it overnight and swing it for a couple days, that's where the cushion comes in to help. Okay, and I had no problem with that. As long as you're managing your downside, okay, you have to manage your risk somehow, some way. With options, it's a lot more difficult, but, you know, always protect your downside so you just don't give back everything after a move like this, and you'll be totally fine. But you have to stick to the sharper action, as I like to say, the stronger order flow, all right? And this is all stuff I elaborate on in the Steamroom chat. Okay, that's the main difference between the private Twitter feed and the chat room is the color, okay, and commentary. And I give my opinion as far as how sharp the order is, whether it's worth a swing or day trade, and so forth. All right. A couple other names. Expedia was a nice mover for a couple days. Let's pull that order up so you can see where they got in there. This actually had a repeat buying as well. Let's see.
This one is close to home here for me. I mean, I caught the move from that. The steam on Expedia came like a day early, and then all of a sudden, market finally took off, and they gunned for Expedia like right on the open, and the thing was trading 110 literally in a day. You kind of had to have this thing overnight. It was kind of like one of those moves. And then it had another 5-point up day as well. Some of these things move extremely, extremely quickly. And, like Jesus said, you got to lock some of that profit in. This Expedia went from, I think the bet came out when the stock was maybe 104 and a freaking half or something. And then once it broke like 106, you're talking about a move to 116 in 2 freaking days, man. It was nuts.
Yep. And that's, and you make a great point, Lucci, because that's why I always say whether you're swing trading, day trading, this is why the reference price I feel is important. And I throw it, I made sure it was in these alerts because you can use that as a guide. And I say, whether you're swing trading or day trading, always come to this price and use it as a reference. So, I mean, if you get a cheaper price than that, that's fine. But, don't pay 106, 108, 109 when the price was at 105. But you can see here's the initial order you were talking about, Lucci, at 105.18, all right? And it was nearly a $500,000 sweep in Expedia. And that's, honestly, I'd have never seen an order like this in Expedia, okay? So, and you were there, Lucci, because I know you were in the room. We were talking about this order because you know the stock well. This was just, as sharp as they come.
Yeah, I used this order. I actually used this order to swing Priceline and mess around with TripAdvisor too. So I used this. Yeah. I used this flow to help a trade in one of the sister names. And then finally, when this thing started acting right, I moved over to this one.
Yep, and this was classic because the day this order hit that sweep, I remember because I traded it. We got in, had a nice little push, but not a push that you would expect of that type of order. A lot of people thought this thing was going to go parabolic instantly, and it didn't do. I think I caught maybe 48 cents profit for Expedia. That's nothing, okay? But it only had like a 70, 80 cent pop, and then teeter out after that, okay? And then after that, like Lucci mentioned, good night, Irene. The stock was higher the next day,
yep.
The next day. And then, and here's a perfect example. I'm glad I brought up this Expedia because if you don't walk this in, you can see there's some retracement here. And I hear some people on Twitter, oh, what's going on with Expedia? You're not going to have a move from 105 to 150 in a straight line. That's rarely going to happen.
Yeah, and again, like that's just the immaturity sometimes of traders who again, they don't really understand how the market works. When you have a move from 103 or 104 to 116, like you're gonna get some sellers out there that are gonna lock in some profits. When people are out there locking in profits, guess what? Your stock is gonna go down. There's no freaking rhyme or reason. It's not like some article came out and broke the whole damn stock. Like this is just how stocks move. You got to accept it.
Totally normal. You're 100% right. And you know what too, Lucci? This trade may be over. Who knows? A move from 104 to 119, okay, and somebody has a bet in April calls. He probably locked it up in some sort of way, I'm sure. So this trade, in my eyes now, okay, it did its job off the order as far as a swing trade is concerned. You want to hold for more, make sure your profits are protected. But this thing was a winner in my eyes. 105 to 119 in 4 days. If you want more than that, You're not going to find that anywhere, guys. So I just want to make that point. This is where you have to lock in some profit. You still like the name, let a little piece ride, just in case it goes higher. But this is a perfect example of that. Okay, and just a couple other quick ones. Swing trade, this AVGO, the action in this name has been mind-boggling. It seems like every week it catches a couple of sweeps. And this is going back a while now, okay? So let's pull up a couple of these orders in AVGO. And you can see a couple of guys actually made a lot of money with this thing. All right, we go back here. Let's take this one here. On March 5th, I think there was orders before this, but let's take March 5th. A 424,000 sweep, okay, when the stock was 130. That came at 1050 on, what was the date again here? March 5th. So we go back to March 5, and is that this here? No, that's this. Where am I? Oh, okay. I posted it on March 5th. Okay, so that was the day after the order. All right, and you can see consolidation here, you know, and then ultimately trades higher. And this is the stuff, you know, that you got to, here, okay, that was the initial buy there, I'm sorry. This is the initial action on Avgo. That's in February, and then tack-on buyers came in after that. Here it is, February 25th. $424,000 swept multiple exchanges, and the stock was 130. This is what I was looking at.
This is probably the best example I would say for a swing, and I think we'll get into it on the Q&A. It's like, you know, how do you come back to names like this and continue to play? It's like if you continue to see that kind of buying action on it, you know, you can put it in a watch list, and you can keep coming back to it on, you know, solid dips. If you continue to see that kind of steam, and you continue to see that kind of sentiment in the markets. We've been bullish for almost a month now, probably even more than that, probably, you know, 25 or so trading days. And once you get that clean sentiment, you can keep coming back to names like this. But again, the trick is in the execution on the swing side. You got to come in on the dips. You can't pay up for the calls once that move is already kind of getting in there. You got to wait for these things to pull back before you start chomping the bit.
Exactly. Like you just hit the nail on the head. That comes down to the individual as a trader.
Right.
And I would just recommend, if you're new to the action or new to trading, okay, I would stick to strictly the initial action. And what I mean by that in simple English, the initial bet, okay? That first Avgo bet. In other words, don't hop on the third or fourth, because now obviously your upside becomes less and there's more risk because of the move. If you stick to that initial bet, okay, like the EMR or the Expedia, the first time they get hit up, you will find a lot more success, because again, that's the first entry per se. So there's a lot more potential upside there. And then,
with swings in general, there's a lot more to, there's a lot more you got to throw into the mix. You know, it comes down to selecting the best candidates. It also comes down to timing alongside the market. So you can't just look at one of these names and be like, all right, I'm going to swing this freaking thing. You also have to look at sentiment. You also have to look at what are other stocks doing. Is everything across the board bullish? Is it choppy? Is it this? Is it that? You know, and that's where swinging gets difficult for a lot of people. But I will throw it out there that, Jesus right now has a certain way of just, finding that initial kind of pop and taking those names. But him and I also come back together on a lot of these things, and we are starting to see a solid pattern on names that you can pick to really aggressively swing, because we've been trading for a long time. So we see the market set up. We see these bullish patterns or whatever you want to call them set up for a certain period of time. And this is really where the bread and butter is. So if you got 100 G's and if you got a couple 100,000 and you want to swing and let's say, try to make a considerable amount of money within a couple of years, 2-3 years, this is where your money is. If you're able to, if you have the experience to put together what the market is doing, what all your, what most sectors are doing, and find swing bets like this is where the real money is at. So if you got some balls,
Yep,
figure it out.
I agree 100%. And like you said, the only problem with that, Lucci, is like, that's where the big money is by far, but you hit the nail on the head. I mean, some of the newer traders, okay,
Yep.
they have a tough time waiting and staying disciplined for this type of action.
Oh, yeah, they got
this
no shot. They got no shot. We know that. They got no shot. But with the experience and with the flow and with all the sentiment stuff that you're getting in the steam room, they can get there.
Yeah, of course. And that's what I mean. It's very, very simple in my eyes, okay? But, traders always make things difficult.
Yep.
If you're going to swing trade, you stick to the sharper orders. You can't swing every single alert that pops on the screen. You stick to the sharper action. And another thing, Lucci, that you didn't mention that I picked up on instantaneously, a lot of times you'll be focusing on a name or a group sectors, and then we'll see wise guy action come in, and then these things just explode.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's another thing,
For me, it's absolutely amazing. Like, for example, the Goldman Sachs. You remember this one, right? Well,
right.
This thing just sucked. This Bank of America, Citi, these things all sucked. And then all of a sudden, we saw some far out of the money Aprils being bought. Goldman's kind of just waving around 150 or 150 and change. And then all of a sudden it climbed back out of nowhere, literally after all this FOMC guck and whatever. And I caught a monster move from 152 to 154 on the first day, and then the next day right off the open. So finally, once I saw the flow line up with the market, line up with the tape, that's it. I mean, that's it. I'm going heavy.
Yep, and that's what I've noticed. It's been obvious. Anytime Lucci's got his eyes on a group.
Oh yeah. You'll hear me screaming in that room. Oh yeah.
Yep. And you know what was funny about this? The banks, after the Fed announcement, everybody was bearish on the banks. They were talking about shorting them.
Yep.
And we saw put selling. We saw put sellers in Goldman Sachs as they were weaker that day.
Yep.
So, this is where the flow guys could come in handy. And again, I come across as the salesman, all right, but the reason why that steam room chat is so significant, in my opinion, is that me and Lucci, every single day, I'll elaborate, comment, give color on all this order flow and all this action. And we are working every day really close to even making that crisper and clearer for members in that chat room so they can sift through all that commentary and utilize that stuff. Because that's the important part. Listen, anybody can look at alerts. It's the interpretation of those alerts that make you money. So, that's where my experience comes in. That's where Lucci's experience comes in as a trader and a tape reader. And you put all that together and you can find success. But, the discipline lies in your lap. And that's the most important in my eyes. But those are just a couple examples, swing trading and day trading. I just want to hit up one last thing before we take questions.
Sure.
I got a lot of questions about swing trading ETFs. And, I'm not a big fan of that in the major ETFs as far as SPY and IWM because the action can change so quickly. But names like this ASHR, okay, that's a Chinese ag ETF. All right, and this thing's been murdered. But I would say now, over the past week or so, we've seen sharp call sweeper after sharp call sweeper come into this thing. I mean, it's been so blunt and obvious. It's incredible. So I recommend, when it comes to swing trading the ETFs, to stick with some of these, maybe sector or ASHR that catch some notable action, because those stand out more. There's a lot of action in SPY. It can mean a whole lot of things. When ASHR usually catch sharp call sweepers, you don't see that every day. And you can see this thing has been a rocket over the past week. My opinion, I think this thing remains strong. It might just be getting started because we haven't seen action in this thing in a long time. You remember this thing, Lucci, when it was hot, this ASHR? You there, Luch? Did I lose him?
Yeah, no. I'm here. Yeah, this thing, dude, these things are the worst to swing, hands down. These ETFs are the worst. Some of these ones, especially the China ones. A lot of the they call them ADRs. China has all of them. An FXI. Any of these things. They gap like crazy. I mean, look at this. They're super liquid, very difficult to trade.
Yeah, and that's why, there's enough action in individual names that
Right.
you can stay away from these ETFs. You could day trade them. You could definitely day trade them.
Yep.
But this ASHR is just an example, one to keep on your screen because, they've really been hitting this thing up. And again, it's a tough swing, but every day might be something you can hop on and make some money when a sweeper steps in. So, I mean, that's basically it. I hope I helped out. And like I said, on my website, thewallstreetjesus.com, you can go there. Again, just briefly explains everything we spoke about today. Sentiment was the other one that we could do a whole webinar. We already have on it. So you could go over there and just go through everything we spoke about today.
Cool. All right, thanks, Jesus. Why don't we go ahead and open it up for some questions, guys? Feel free to ask whatever whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to ask us, whatever you want to ask us about swing trading, about the content so far that Jesus kind of threw out there. Let us know. We already have it looks like a bunch of questions here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Again, we're doing this promo for you guys and for you guys alone. It'll get you in there for the first month for $49, and then subsequently you'll get rebilled at $199 a month. We've changed the landing page a little bit, as you can see, but again, most of the content inside the Steamroom is all the same. You get great access to options color here, options order flow in the markets, tradable options order flow, which I think is the more apropos word. So what do we got here? What do we got here for questions? Let me pull some up here. Okay, so we got a question here for you, Jesus. I know you don't short, but do you see the same type of action on bearish wise guy action, or is it mostly on the call side? I kind of like this question, actually.
Great question. Here's why I don't short. We've been in a bull market. If you go back, the last time I really shorted as far as multiple days, you have to go back to 2008. Okay, and if you think about from 2009 to where we are now, in my eyes, there was no reason to short as far as a swing trader is concerned. Okay, you're going against the trend. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't short. You can short as a day trader off put action, but you have to be really quick and catch that initial push, as I like to say, because when they squeeze you in shorts, and Lucci will elaborate on this further, it's the total opposite of what we see in call action. And Lucci, you can elaborate on that a little.
Yeah. So on the bearish side, all right, and again, it depends on, this a little of it comes with experience, but on the bearish side, if you're in a bull market, all right, those shorts are, I'm not going to say they're not going to work. You are going to get initial push to the downside once these things hit. But again, the added fact of you going short lends itself to, what they call squeezes. And depending on what kind of environment you're in, those squeezes can get fucking ugly. And what ends up happening is that, let's say you have a strategy coming in like Jesus has on the long side, where you're going to take something long and you're going to put a stop loss and you're going to trail it and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? That shit does not work on the short side. It does not work on the short side because your stops are going to get smoked every single time, especially if you're trailing those shorts as well. So bearish wise guy action, okay, aggressive put action. You really got to keep it tighter, number one. So take things a little bit quicker. And it's obviously going to work a lot better if the market is also coming in too. I mean, we had a period in January, I believe, and Jesus, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had SPY put buyers getting bought every single day, correct? We had 180 SPY put buyers every single day. We had Dr. Doom puts being bought on all the banks every single day. And for that period in time, that bearish put flow worked like a freaking charm. It worked like a charm because everybody else out there was selling. Everybody was panicking. And that was that was just the trade. That was just the right trade. When you get that bearish kind of action in a bullish tape, which we are seeing for the last, 25 sessions or whatever the hell it is, it's going to be a lot harder to trade. Okay. And I can continue to go on forever about the mechanics of a short or a sell versus a long. And by the way, I went on a big rant Friday in the room. And the cool thing about being in the room is that you get access and you get a lot more color on just trading in general and understanding how the market works. And this is all we talk about.
Yep, and you just exactly. I couldn't say it any better. Since the Bazooka Joe lows, okay, as we keep referring to them, the trend has been up. So in my eyes, unless you're a really seasoned trader, okay, you shouldn't be shorting, in my opinion. Like Lucci can short, okay, because he knows what the hell he's doing. All right, he knows how to protect himself if he gets into trouble. So, but if you're not on that level and don't have the experience, there's no reason any newbie should be shorting anything when the market's in bull mode. Okay, like Lucci mentioned in January, when there were SPY put sweepers all over the yard and the wise guy sentiment was extremely bearish, you want to play a couple puts or short things, fine, maybe. But no way going against the grain, going against the trend. It's just foolish in my eyes.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, we got a question here from seasoned veteran, Danny Crane, man. What's going on, man? I'm surprised, bro. Come on. Saturday morning, you got to have something better to do, man. Take the wife to brunch. Do something here, man. All right, what has he got? He's got observation, 2 different styles trading, Lucci and Jesus, in my opinion, but no real info on high beta call or put flow. Is there a reason? And I think this is a pretty interesting question. I would throw it back and say that, we do have Facebook, right? We do have Apple. We do, Jesus will throw color out on the Google, on the Amazon and all that kind of stuff. But he's kind of right. On an intraday basis, it's like we don't, it's not like we're seeing that much. So, Jesus, is it because the action is just too small and these things are so heavily traded as far as in the derivatives and in the options market? Is that why, you might not post a lot of the action that happens in those things?
You guys you traders with these FANG stocks, I can't take it anymore.
Man. We love them. We love them. We love them.
There's a huge market out there. These professionals don't trade Facebook, Apple all day, every day. Listen, we saw a Netflix sweeper, okay, Friday morning, and the stock had a nice rip. We saw the Apple missiles come in the past Friday, and the stock rip. We're going to see activity, but you're not going to see, you're not going to see FANG activity all throughout the day. That doesn't make sense. And honestly, if there was, I wouldn't put any credence into this thing because it just doesn't make logical sense that you can have an edge in those names every single day. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. Totally true. I trade these things. And by the way, Jesus, I think what it is with the FANG names and high beta or whatever the hell you want to call it is that we don't have to run around. You know what it is, man? Is like you use this order flow to assess where you want to trade during the day, right? And what's going to be these real movers. So there's a good, and myself included, like there's a good portion of us who, we just look at 5 stocks. We just look at 5 or 10 stocks. And as you know, it's like I'm already looking to set up, let's say, a trade in a particular sector, for example, those banks. And then all of a sudden, once they align with the stuff that you're throwing out there, that means like I have carte blanche basically to just go bananas, and that's kind of what I wait for. I kind of hang around and wait for those things to happen. So again, 2 different schools of thought, 2 different sciences, but it's interesting how they all come together too.
Yeah, but you just said it perfectly. I mean, if you just solely trade those names, you wait for action to come in. I mean, one of, again, the most underappreciated aspects of Wise Guy Flow is that it tells you when those things
Right.
are in play
Right.
during the day. You know what I mean?
Right.
There'll
And you know
be
what?
days.
Yeah, and you know what? And not to cut you off there, Jesus, but he really just kind of rammed it home in the sense that, like, anybody who's sitting here trading FANG stocks and expecting to make money every day, I think both Jesus and I will make a bet that probably 95% of you are over trading the shit out of your account and racking up dumb losses that you don't need. Simply because, like, you're looking for all the juice in the same names on the same day over and over and over. And he's right. These things only have clean moves. 2 days out of the month, 3 days out of the month, you want to call it that? I mean, granted, they have large ranges to trade, but that doesn't mean you can make money. You know what I mean? You still have to understand what the range is. You still have to understand what the sentiment is. You still have to understand all this kind of stuff. So just because these FANG names move wide ranges every single day does not mean that's where your bread is buttered. So I think that's what Jesus is saying.
Yeah, and Lucci, if I had $1 for every single day over the past, I would say, month, that I've heard traders say, oh, what a dead day today is because Facebook, Netflix weren't doing a thing, but the Wise Guy alert board was lighting up in green with names in action. You know what I mean? So there you go. The traders who were watching FANG thought the market was dead, but underneath the hood, there were, missiles going off in names like the
Hilarious.
EMI.
Yeah, hilarious. And again, like, guys, that can also help you as well. If you're stuck in the rut of, let's say, trading FANG names and over trading your account to fucking shit, the room can really help you realize, and sometimes it's a simple realization that, wow, I don't have to trade the FANG stocks. I don't have to trade Apple. I don't have to trade this. There's so many other names to trade. There's so many other things to do. And as long as you have a good, I guess, to those names, aka the order flow here, and a reason to watch those names, there's a lot more opportunity besides just trying to trade FANG. And if you are trying to trade FANG, there's nothing wrong with that. Just realize that you're only going to get 1 or 2 clean moves in a week. You know what I mean? You really are only going to get that. And if you sit there and try to hammer for more and more and more, guess what's going to happen? Once you hit that clean move and make some good money, you're going to throw all of it away. So again, the Steamroom helps to be a little bit more disciplined as far as when, to get aggressive on some of these things versus every freaking day just trading the same thing, hitting an offer, hitting a bid. All right, so what else we got here? Let's take one more question here. Rob Flowers, how do you tell what is the sharper flow amongst all the other order flow in the day? Is it the orders with larger capital behind it, or order flow that has multiple hits, or alerts on the same name? So how do you tell which is the sharpest, I guess?
Yeah, and this is a great question, and that's why I mentioned it a little earlier in this webinar. I can't expect you guys to, just instantly have an eye for that. And again, that's where the Steamroom chat, I think the most value is provided, because I will elaborate on these orders. And it's got nothing to do with dollar amount. All right, nothing to do with dollar amount whatsoever. As a matter of fact, what's the symbol? I think, DBD. David Boy David on Friday was a measly, I don't know, I think $40,000 sweeper, and I considered that a really aggressive order and thought it was tradable. The SRPT was only a $50,000 bet, okay? That example I showed you. And you saw the move there. That was only a $50,000 bet, and look what that thing ended up doing. So, in my opinion, you're not going to develop a sense for knowing what orders are sharper than others. But in simple English, it's just the reason the name sharp comes off the gambling term, but it's a bet that's noteworthy in a sense, okay, for that particular name. All right, I mean, a $200,000 non-sweeper in Apple is nothing in my eyes, okay? I mean, somebody on Friday, everybody was talking about some huge poke bet and spy, and our members didn't even know about it because I didn't even mention it. And that's how significant I thought it was. It was totally insignificant in my eyes. So again, it's got nothing to do with dollar amount. It's something you will learn as you watch this flow long enough, okay, and develop a sense for it. But again, this is all stuff I don't expect you guys to know. And I immediately, as soon as the order hits the tape, I will go into color and commentary as far as my opinion on that order.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. Again, use the link that I sent you guys in the description. It's wallstreetjesus.com / Saturday sweeps. I believe that's the link there that I sent you guys. Again, you get first month here for $49. Try us out. Try it out. Again, we are looking to basically add on a little bit of science, a little bit of process here to what you're already doing. And that can amplify your gains a little bit. And more importantly, I would say start cutting down on some of the losers that you guys are taking, you know, some of the over trading and all this kind of stuff. It's a great room where, again, we talk about emotions. We talk about the different aspects of trading, whether it's as high level as market structure and, you know, exchanges, different exchanges that might charge less for fees, you know, get rebates and things like that, to stuff like psychological stuff. So, you know, if you go on a run or you're let's say having a bad run, and you're trying to force yourself to get back to break even or positive or whatever it is, all these conversations happen in the room, and that's where a lot of the value comes. So take advantage of it. Hopefully we'll see you guys in there on Monday. Rest of this month I think should be pretty entertaining. I mean, up until May it should be pretty freaking entertaining here. We've already rallied a considerable amount. They're still just buying out here. There's no bearish activity across the board. Nobody's even protecting aggressively out here. So, you know, it seems like we got a little bit more on the upside, possibly a lot of it. People are acting like nothing ever happened. I remember the except for VRX. This is hilarious here, Tatiana said. What is VRX trading? $27 now? I think it's 27.
You want to hear something crazy? Friday, I think after you went out, Friday afternoon, we saw $7.50 puts being bought on VRX.
Shut up. You know what that guy's doing? You know what that guy is doing? He's probably like, all right, Ackman's got to sell. And once Ackman sells, that's it. He'll push the stock down to 10 anyway. So that's probably what he's doing. 7.5, that shit is hilarious, man.
May and October, 7.5 puts had a decent amount of action. And it's Ackman protecting his ass. Who knows? But, I mean, how crazy is that? 7.5. Think about where this thing's going.
Oh, man. Things like this, you know, you think about and you know, you look at a guy like Ackman who has such an amazing record and is managing billions of dollars, has billions of his own. You know, this shit can happen to anybody, guys. You know, so don't think that because let's say you can't figure out how to make money in the markets or whatever, that, you know, you're less of a human being or you know what I mean? Like things like this. Like it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what level of freaking trader you are at. Like at some point you're gonna take it up the ass and you're gonna realize like how difficult sometimes this game can be, how emotional this game can be as well. And in reality, your job is to cut down on some of that stuff. And if we can all kind of do it together, it gives us more. It gives us all more of a fighting chance. I mean, I think Jesus has created a strategy for himself that's very more or less airtight, in the sense that he's not going out there and he's not sticking his leg out there for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like for hopes and dreams, more or less. Which again, you get a lot of traders that want to do that too. They're just like, oh, I love FANG stock, so I'm just going to buy Apple and I'm going to sit in this stupid thing for no reason, right? And even if this thing, even if the tape is horrible and it's going down, these people are still chomping at the bid, you know, and continuing to lose and lose and lose. It's like Twitter. You know, anybody who's been long Twitter from $30 or whatever it is. So, you know, again, we can all kind of work on this together, iron out these strategies together, and help each other out, man. Jesus, any last comments?
No, yeah, you said it perfectly there. And that's, that was probably the time I saw the light. And a big problem amongst most traders is they try to emulate guys like Ackman or Paul Tudor Jones and want to be this big time trader who manages these huge positions and averages down. And that's how you get knocked out of this game, You want some consistency and you want to be able to manage your risk. And that's the two most important things to staying alive in this game. So,
Nice.
and it's discipline and something to be worked out on. But we all get better every day at it. That's all.
No doubt. All right, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys in the chat room on Monday. All right. Take care.
Yep. Have a good weekend, everybody.